Hey Dhairya, welcome to Just Like That.
Hi, Sahil. Thank you so much for having me on your talk show.
Wonderful. So I know, we've been talking about this for a while now to say, I know you've been interacting with a lot of young talent, and so have I. And
Yeah.
interestingly, it's been so nice that I've been on LinkedIn since 2009.
Okay.
And I was just checking that up. And, I've never really used LinkedIn as exhaustively as I've been using it over the last couple of years. I think it's as a platform, it's
Yeah.
really picked up steam, right? And LinkedIn
True.
keeps changing its algorithm and we keep dodging that.
True. True. I think I wasn't aware about the platform as such until this lockdown. To be very honest, I mean, I did have like a profile per se, but as a student, I wasn't really leveraging it like I had to. So it's only been about a couple of months, approximately 6 months, that I've been using it very actively.
Okay, so just for the last couple of months, you've been using LinkedIn very actively. Prior to that,
Yes.
you had an account, but you weren't using it.
Yeah, I had an account. I created an account when I was in my second year of engineering, which is approximately 2.5 years, down the lane. But I only started using it from July end. Yeah,
Interesting. And how has the platform really worked for you? How has it played out for you?
it's laid out magically for me, if I had to put it in words, to be very honest, because the thing is that having a profile on LinkedIn is a different thing. And actually leveraging the platform alongside having a profile is completely a different thing. And moreover, when you're active on the platform and not a lurker, right, who's just
Yeah.
scrolling through the platform like we do on Facebook or on Instagram. So the moment I started actively participating, not just with putting out content myself, but also, kind of collaborating with different individuals and giving my feedback on other people's content, that's when everything comes into place on LinkedIn, right? And I think the one thing which really opened my eyes was that content is very important no matter what platform you are on. Because if you want to be known for something, you have to go out there and let people know about it. And I think content helps you do that.
Fantastic. So how did you really go about building your own personal brand on LinkedIn?
Well, it started with not intentionally wanting to create a personal brand. Yeah, let me put it that way. Because only after a certain point of time did I even realize that there's something called as followers on LinkedIn, which is separate and people just come randomly and follow you. I wasn't aware of that until I hit like a 15,000 followers, to be very honest. That's when I understood that, okay, there are some amount of good number of people who are following my content for whatsoever reason. They find it valuable and regarding placements, etc. So then I understood that probably I am on my journey to creating a personal brand. But if I have to put it very precisely and concisely, I think how I went about doing it is that I reacted to what my audience was liking. Because at the end of the day, I think I made a very recent post regarding this as well, that your personal brand is your own. However, it's created by your audience at the end of the day. You are trying to
Very
create
true.
a brand for yourself, but until and unless your audience does not connect with what you're providing, it's not going to create that impact, right? So I
Yeah.
think because I reacted and repurposed and restructured my content basis on my audience's reaction and what they were liking, rather than just going by what my mental instincts were saying or what I felt was right, that helped. And I think second thing was being very authentic, because I
Mm.
feel a lot of people on LinkedIn try to replicate or try to mimic other individuals in some way or the other. But what I realized was that you have to be real and share your journey, and that's when people
Sure.
resonate with you. So that helped me.
Correct.
Yeah,
It's like the classic case of saying, like, that leader is only as good as many followers he
followers.
has or
Yeah,
as many more leaders he creates. Right? What's
right.
the point of being there if you don't have followers? Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, true, true.
So what's the number now? You said 15,000 is when you realized, but what's the number now?
I think when I checked it last, it was some 37,000 something.
Interesting. So 9 months of focused effort of generating unique content on LinkedIn
6 months.
and 37,000 followers.
Yeah, six
Six
months.
months.
It's been
Wow.
very exponential. No, I'll be very honest. I never ever thought that a platform as such could, in general, expose to you to so many opportunities. Like, because I didn't understand the concept itself, right? But only with this kind of exposure and meeting so many industry leaders, even like you, we do interact because of other professional reasons as well. But we did connect that way on LinkedIn, and that's how I've met a lot of people over LinkedIn, and that's helped me in my journey for sure.
Fantastic. And people keep saying this whole LinkedIn algorithm plays out very differently. What's the right time to post? Maybe there's a right segment when your followers really, read your post. Any kind of dope there?
I think that there's a lot of controversy around it because a lot of people, generally say that mornings, I think 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. do very well. Some people say you should do it in the evening. I'll be very honest. In these 6 months, I've tried out every time. You name the time. It's 1 p.m. in the afternoon, 11 p.m. in the night. I did it all because I didn't want to go by a preconceived notion. And when I started applying it at different time zones as well, not just restricted to Indian timings, I also try to do it when the audience, let's say in US, is more active, right? So I tried it all for myself. What I realized is that at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how the algorithm plays out, how active your audience is at that moment of time. If your piece of content will click and if it's value adding and it's relatable, it'll do well irrespective of the time you post it on. Because I cannot guarantee you, and I've seen it, that if I'll make a post between 5 to 7, it will do well. It's never worked out that way. There have been posts which have done terribly at that time. There have been posts which have done very well also. So I don't believe in the timing thing. I literally just sit with my phone. Something comes to my mind. I'll just pen down my thoughts and I post it. That's what I've always done.
So you're a firm believer of the fact that content is king. Don't worry about anything else, but put good content up, right?
Content is king, contextual to your audience.
Wow. Say that again.
Content is king, contextual to your audience.
Beautiful, beautiful. Content is king, contextual to your audience. Very well said, Dhairya. Very well said.
Yeah.
So what about this whole concept of saying, yes, you can put a lot of content, and we've seen this, right?
Yeah.
As you said, a lot of people ape others, right? So someone's putting a survey saying use these various emoticons to choose one of them for the poll.
Yeah.
Some of those really go viral. And some people put very deep content, but they hardly get a couple of likes. So what's this whole concept of saying what is going viral and latch onto that versus genuine, rich content?
There are a couple of things. I think this is a very interesting question. So there are about 2 to 3 things which come into play in this scenario. The first one being that what happens is that generic content which applies to any audience. Like let's say you're in the HR space, I'm in a technology space, someone else is in the marketing space. But irrespective of that, if I put out a piece of motivational content and I share my success journey or failure journey, you will relate to it. A lawyer will also relate to it. A 13-year-old kid will also relate to it. But if I put out a piece of content regarding a tool, let's say SAP Ariba, which I work on, and I just put it up, you wouldn't be able to relate that much to it as much as probably a professional in the SAP field would, right? And maybe the marketers and others wouldn't understand the language or what I'm trying to put out. So there the audience gets niched down. So what happens is posts as such get a wider audience, and they will, whether you posted or I posted, a motivational generic post will do better than a more valuable, deep meaning post. That's one thing. That's a fact. Second thing I think is that you add the wrong kind of people in your network sometimes, because again, the same context thing. If the people who you've added in your network are at least not 70% of them do not understand what domain you're coming from and what knowledge do you have, then they won't be able to relate to your content. They won't like it. They won't engage with it. And then LinkedIn will kill its reach further down, and it will keep reducing the reach. But if the first set of people who see your content, which is your audience itself, relate to your content, it'll keep pushing it, vice versa, right? So
got it.
It works. Yeah.
And very interestingly, you brought up the next question in my mind to say that, is there a correlation between the number of views and the number of likes? Many times you see the views are very, very high.
True.
But the number of likes may be very less.
Yeah, that's always the case, I guess. Again, that's a great question. I think it's like a funnel, right? So the top of it is like when you post something, the one at the top will be a number of views. Your number of views will always surpass the number of likes, after which you have likes, and then you have comments. There are cases where the comments and the likes can be interchanged for a couple of people. Some people have very good engagement on their posts as well. But the reason being is that, let's say 1 lakh people view my post, just taking an example. Out of those 1 lakh people, the funnel goes down to only, let's say, about 50,000 of them wanting to probably like it. Out of those 50,000, maybe 10,000 would want to comment on it, because that's how it goes. It will keep getting filtered. Not everyone will take out the time to like that piece of post, even though they have liked the content, right? So that's why it's less. And moreover, I believe in terms of engagement or judging someone's content, the best way is not the likes or the views, it's the comments. Because they say that each comment is equivalent to about 3 to 4 likes, as opposed to just counting the likes, because people are actually taking out the time to, put their thoughts out there on a piece of content you have written. So that's the most meaningful
Correct.
engagement.
Correct.
Yeah.
Sure. And you and I being millennials, and of course, a lot of millennials who are our followers,
Yeah.
What's your take to them, right? Because essentially, when they look at something like this,
Right.
the entire space that they're operating out of is majority. And again, I'm generalizing here, but majority of the people have this great dopamine that gets released the moment someone likes and your post goes viral.
Yeah.
And similarly, on the other hand, you put in a lot of effort on writing or creating a good post, and it just doesn't have any likes.
Agreed.
So how do you really play that game?
I think initially it does affect you a lot. I mean, I'm not going to lie about that, because no matter how much you tell somebody or you tell yourself that numbers shouldn't matter, and it shouldn't be the metric on which you should be judging your content. The truth is that they do affect you, right? And like you said, and when you see a post doing very well, obviously you have that rush of happiness or that joy that it's done well. But there are times when you put in a lot of effort and thought behind the post and it just doesn't do well for whatsoever reason. Again, the algorithm of LinkedIn, which I think possibly no one can decode completely. I don't even know if someone's done it partially. But I think I've started dealing with it better over a period of time, because you understand that consistency is what matters, not the results at the end of the day. Because if you have a good set of like-minded people or a community of followers who are just waiting for your next post to come up and is going to help even one individual with something, with some amount of help, then I think that's where you compensate with the views going down or the likes not being as good as you wanted them to be.
Fantastic. And coming to the last part of what I really wanted to ask you is, you've seen a lot of people who hold positions of power,
Yeah.
who are very senior, and then therefore when they write, they end up having great amount of engagement, right?
True.
But you somewhere defied that completely, because being almost a fresher into the corporate world, you've been a top voice, you've been the space where you've been the top 15 followers. So maybe that's a great kind of inspiration to a lot of kids on the block, saying that it doesn't really require you to spend so many years in the corporate world or reach a particular position to be able to influence others, right? Because at the end of the day, we're all equal on that platform. So what's your take on that?
I think you've put it very beautifully, to be very honest. I think more than just, obviously all of us are equals as individuals and human beings. But the fact, again, as long as you add value to somebody, right? They're gonna take it in a positive note, and they will want to follow you for the value that you're providing to them. So I don't think that people on LinkedIn kind of differentiate you basis on, as you said, the position that you hold or where you are in your corporate journey or the ladder or anything else, as a matter of fact, even the status or anything else. But it's all about how well are you conveying your message, and is it targeted to your audience, and are they taking back something from that piece of content? Are they going to learn something new, even if it's one thing? And that's even if, let's say, half of your audience learn something new, that's when they'll come back, and that's when they start following you, and that's when they'll keep waiting. Okay, what is she going to post next, or what is he going to post next? So
Got it.
I think
so basically, you're saying you're as good as your last post.
Yeah, I think you can put it that way. I think so. Yeah, true.
Okay, got it. And as we walk away from this conversation, Dhairya, what are the 2 or 3 takeaways that you have for anyone who's on LinkedIn that they should stay away from? Something that someone shouldn't do on LinkedIn.
Yeah,
that's a complete no-no
question. Yeah, I think the first one will have to be, because I see this a lot, and I think initially in my first 2 posts, even I did it. I'm guilty of it, but you shouldn't be doing it. Someone did tell me that I shouldn't be doing it. You shouldn't be tagging a lot of people when you start with your journey of content creation on LinkedIn. You must have seen a lot of people, Sahil, in the comment section or in the content of the post. They tag 50 people, 40 people, so that the engagement that actually has a reverse engineering mechanism. It does not play out very well, to be very honest. Because number one, LinkedIn considers it as a spam. Second thing, a lot of people don't like you tagging them without their permission. So it's not taken in a very good way. So you shouldn't be doing that. The second thing would again be with hashtags. The misconception that just like on Instagram, you've got like, I think, a limitation of 30 to 30 to 32 hashtags which you can use with any post. And the more hashtags you use, it reaches a wider audience. It's not the same with LinkedIn. It's about using broad hashtags which with a broader audience which have a huge number of followers, but keeping it restricted to a less number of hashtags. Let's say I use 4 to 5 hashtags relevant to the piece of content I've written, and they should have a good huge audience instead of using 50 hashtags. So because again, LinkedIn considers it as a robotic bot activity, so you should try and use less number of hashtags but relevant and with a broad audience. Yeah.
Super great, Dhairya. It was wonderful chatting up with you. A very candid conversation.
Yeah.
Really enjoyed. Thank you so much for joining us on Just Like That.
It was a pleasure. Thank you so much, Sahil.